Hi, dance is a sport that requires flexibility, endurance, and strength. Dancers make it look easy, but it's more than just lifting a leg up off the ground. If we dive into the deep biomechanics and physics of dance, we'll provide a useful information to maximize your performance.
Four important techniques in dance which tie into physics, such as center of gravity and balancing, torque in turning movements, friction in brushing movements, and projectile motion in large leaps.
Balancing is one of the most important aspects in dance because it assists throughout every movement you execute. You have to balance your whole body over a small area with supports. You remain motionless with a net force of 0 over the area while trying to create a vertical line throughout your body, or center of gravity. Newton's third law of action-reaction applies to this. When something exerts a force on another object, your foot on the floor, it will create an equal force exerted back. You have to keep the center of mass inside the base of support to keep it controlled.
If your net force was any larger than 0, or if your center of gravity is not in line, your angular momentum would change, so you would rotate and fall.
To turns is a concept of torque, a measure of how much a force on an object causes that object to rotate. Torque is an aspect of physics which whip you around successfully, also known as a change in angular momentum. To improve in this, apply a force away from the center of gravity. You could use the force of your leg to get around like a fouette turn. The torque can be exerted from several ballet positions, and you should apply the arms in a circular position.
This helps create more momentum. Maintaining a strong balance in the base of support and using your core will allow for the dancer to complete multiple turns, since it will create a compact, controlled center of gravity.
Dance are petit allegro combinations. For the most part, it involves brushing quickly to travel and or leap in the air. There are elements of ballet that require you to dig your feet into the ground and articulate to properly execute movements such as glissades. A concept that can help you in this area would be the idea of kinetic friction. Glissades in a horizontal gliding force. A dancer needs to change the linear horizontal motion. Too much friction may cause difficulty with completing the movement, but applying just the right amount of force on the floor for more friction will get you higher off the ground while traveling from side to side.
Woo!
The more force applied from your foot to the ground means the same amount of force exerted back. That friction will launch the dancer up and over horizontally. In other words, brushing the floor can allow for easier travel and height in your glissades.
Like petit allegro, there is also grand allegro, and that is where the bigger leaps come into play. To jump, a dancer must use vertical force and acceleration and apply a downward force on the floor. To increase the force and jump higher or further, the dancer must start in a bent plie position. The more compression the dancer has in their plie, or the more potential energy, the more elastic energy will be created. The path of a dancer once they leave the ground is projectile. The vertical velocity reaches 0 at the top of the projectile path and then accelerates once she begins to descend. The pile creates more acceleration, but it is also safe to spread the force of impact over a long period of time to prevent injuries.
A dancer can improve their retiers in a turn or the extensions in a développé by working on their flexibility. Flexibility can include stress, which is when your muscles contract, and strain, which is when your muscles strengthen or lengthen. It is possible to overstretch oneself. Muscles can return back to its original capacity, which is the elastic region, but stretching it out daily and increasing the intensity of your stretches will help maintain the new stretched out capacity and deform permanently, which would be the plastic region. Any further would cause harm.
While keeping in mind the basic techniques of dance, applying physics can improve your performance whether you are turning in tap or in ballet. If you are struggling in areas such as leaps, balancing, brush movements, turning, or flexibility, it can easily be fixed if you step outside of the box and think physics.